What is up, Buckeye Nation? Flo Co here from Ohio State Football with Scarlet and Great right here on YouTube with my good friends Johnny Bullet and Sugar Ray Shane Larson, the Game Time Guru himself. Good friends and co-founders of the channel. Appreciate all you guys for tuning in. We're going to do an Ohio State signing day recap a little bit here. But first, we'd like you to subscribe to the channel for Buckeye playoff coverage. We got some things ramping up for you in the next 10 days or so, leading up to the Peach Bowl against that beast in the South, the Southeastern Conference. The Georgia Bulldogs are reigning national champions. Going to the Peach Bowl, we'd like to get 6,000 subscriptions by said Peach Bowl. Appreciate all you guys. Share the videos with your friends. Like and subscribe to the channel and comment and tell us what you think about what's going on in Buckeye land right now. And remember, I want you to know one thing though. Okay, if you're wondering to yourself, do I want to commit to these guys and subscribe to the channel and listen to their content? Just if you have any questions at all, I just want to let you know that undoubtedly we have built this channel in God's name, image, and likeness. Look, I'm a Christian, but that was one of the most cringeworthy things I've ever heard in my life. Holy smokes. So anyway, moving on, we're going to talk a little bit about signing day, but we got to address the elephant in the room, right? We got to talk about NIL, and NIL being a problem. It's not just a problem for Ohio State, though. I'd say it's a problem for the whole Midwest, essentially. I mean, you look at Midwest recruiting, depending on who you look at. I'd say Ohio State's kind of the king of the hill still, but ESPN has Notre Dame ahead of Ohio State, so who knows? Notre Dame did well. Ohio State, Notre Dame did pretty well. Penn State did pretty well. Michigan, is a distant fourth right now as far as Midwestern teams are concerned. Look, it seems like from like Miami, Florida to Eugene, Oregon, they've got it figured out. They're going to treat this as a business. They're going to treat this with as executives. The Midwest still seems to have this all shucks, just come to our school for the right reasons. I mean, Ryan Day even said at his press conference, these kids who want to be here for the right reasons. And I'm like, that just sounds like somebody who's upset he's losing kids to other schools for money. Now, I mean, it could be just general praise, but I read it that way. I was like, wow, he's definitely a little bit bitter about what's going on in the NIL world. And rightfully so. I don't think he's really getting the support he deserves, but I'm going to have a take on this. I'm going to get further into it in other videos. I'm going to have a take on this you may or may not agree with, and you may not see where the angle I'm coming from. Because I know a lot of Twitter, what you expect to be is like, why can't we get it right? And there's going to be an aspect of that I talk about. But we got to slower roll just a little bit about NIL, I think. I mean, these schools are bankrolling rosters now. And we don't know. We're so early into this. We don't even know that's a winning formula yet. I mean, the way I'm looking at this is like, okay, we're treating 18-year-olds as if they're their own business, or this is their first job, essentially, as he's putting millions of dollars in their bank accounts when they never set foot on a football field. You have no idea how they'll pan out. How many 5-stars has Ohio State been excited about? We're like, they kind of became average at best. And you're already banking your entire program on these players. Now, don't get me wrong. You got to try to recruit the best players no matter what you think might happen with them. But usually when you get somebody who's just solely motivated by money, I'm not saying every kid is. I'm sure there's plenty of kids who ended up at a school they really wanted to be at. It just happened to come with a huge financial contract, and that's fine. But there's going to be some kids, obviously, in some schools who just don't even differentiate, don't even care why you're there. They just hand out money. Great, we got a 5-star here. Gee, why is it not working out? Why does he hate being here? He took the money and doesn't even like being here. It's not a place where he's comfortable. The grass is not always greener, so to speak. And on top of that, some of these kids are going to get in there and they're not going to learn. They're not going to know how to be a pro. And you essentially are a pro at that point. Which begs me the question. I don't even want to hear kids complain about criticism anymore when you're making $2 and $3, $4, $5 million. I just don't want to hear it. But you are essentially stepping into that line of being a pro. You can't have your cake and eat it too at that point. I mean, you're no longer an amateur player who's playing for free or just a scholarship or whatever you can get. You're making more money than most assistant coaches. So, okay, that's what you wanted. That's fine. I'll go with you on it, but you have to accept some criticism along the way as well. And I'll say this, I go back to, I don't know if it's a winning formula or not. I just don't. I'm going to say one thing about it, and then I'm going to move on from it because I want to talk about what we have in this class. But we don't know if it's a winning formula, like I said. And think about the. I'm very interested to see the coaching turnover. We thought it was bad before. When we have boosters putting tens of millions of dollars into these rosters, right? And if a coach can't handle, if a coach can't turn it over and get wins from it, what all of a sudden, it's like we just paid $30 million for your roster. You got 8 wins. Are you kidding me? You can't win the Pac-12. It's going to be extremely interesting going forward, I think, because of the amount of pressure you have, and it's not to mention we just paid $2.5 million for this 5-star kid, and he stinks. He's not any good. What's going on with him? Why can't you get him? It's almost like reminded me of the movie Blue Chips out of nowhere, where Penny Hardaway's character Butch McRae, who his mom got a house and a job and all kinds of stuff. They got money, and of course it was under the under the radar back then. It wasn't legal to do any of this stuff, but Butch McRae just comes to coach. I forgot the character's name, and he just says, "I'm not happy if I transfer. Are you gonna take away my mom's house? It's in the course the boosters on the line. Hey, it's your job to make him happy. So." I was just wondering, you have more and more situations like that, even out in the open now. So it'll be interesting going forward. What we see with the pressure of coaching being already absurd. Now it's going to I think, going to skyrocket. You're going to see more coaching turnover than ever before, because it's not going to be enough when you're putting this kind of money into these rosters. So. Used to be, hey, we raised $60 million for new facilities. Now it's, hey, we raised $60 million for your football roster. I don't care if they like the bench press machine or not, so it'll be interesting going forward. But anyway, let's talk about Ohio State's class. Now, I mean, it's not flashy, but it's very solid. Now, there's an aspect of it to it that's flashy. The wide receiver class is always flashy. It's Brian Hartline. He's probably the best recruiter in the country. He's ridiculous. So, you almost want to just have him give classes on recruiting. He's that good. I don't know if you could actually teach what he does, though. I mean, it's like Reggie White when they drafted Vonnie Holiday of Green Bay. He's like, I don't know. I can't make him as good as me. I can't teach what I do. So I wonder if it's kind of one of those things. I wonder if you're going to bring him into the rest of is he going to have a Alec Baldwin moment in Glenn Glary, Gun Ross? He's just going to be screaming at everybody, always be closing. Anyway. I don't know if he could teach it or not, but he's so good. But anyway, there's some solid pieces to this class going forward that I got my notes in front of me. You have to indulge me here a little bit, but that I actually like that aren't really, these guys aren't really like necessarily highly, they don't have high rankings. They're not, they're not people that the national media is going to just completely fall apart over. But guys like Arvell Reese, a linebacker out of Ohio, I really am excited about what he can do. I was excited when he committed, by the way. This isn't like new, but I got a 6'4", 220 guy who runs a 4'5", 4'6", 40, somewhere around there. He got great speed, athleticism. A lot of things you could do with him. You put him in a Leo position, put him in any linebacker position, edge rusher, whatever. And he was actually pretty dominant at times in his high school career. So I'm actually pretty excited about guys like that. Jelani Thurman, I understand he's highly rated. He's a 95 rating. So he's one of the best tight ends in the country. I get that. So it's not somebody who's just, wow, where did he come from? But I'm excited for him I used to not be excited about tight ends coming to Ohio State. It's like, some 3-star tight end, whatever. Who cares? We just need an extra lineman anyway on the field. But now we see how we're using Cade Stover. I think, oh man, Jelani's a very athletic guy. It's exciting to see what he can do if we use him in the Cade Stover type role to the point where we're actually throwing to him and utilizing him in the passing game. So it'll be interesting. Plus, he's got the physicality to be a good blocker. He's raw. And I'm excited to see what Keenan Bailey does with tight ends, because I think he's an excellent coach. He's been an excellent assistant, extremely loyal to Ohio State. I'm excited to see what he does with tight ends going forward. So those kinds of things I'm kind of excited about. There's some more here. Like I'll get into it with other positions though, because there's a couple non-flashy necessarily guys that are you can get excited. I'm going to talk about position groups going forward. That's why I don't want to keep going about individual players. But let's talk about the good in Ohio State's recruiting class. Obviously, the wide receiver class is really good. there's a negative to it, but it's not because of the wide receiver class. The negative, I'm going to get it out of the way, is that 3 out of the top 4 of our commits are wide receivers. I actually don't like that. I want more of a mix. I mean, it's so wide receiver heavy, wide receiver dominant, and that actually, I would say, kind of inflates your rankings a little bit because of how good of a recruiter Brian Hartline is. His position's always going to be stacked, but there's also, you got a lot to be excited about with Brandon Innis, Noah Rodgers, and Carnell Tate. Especially Bryson Rodgers, also another guy who's really good. He's not as highly ranked as those other guys. He's actually the second lowest ranked in our class. But if Brian Hartline wanted him based on the guys you see he can get, obviously there's some hidden talent there. And Brian Hart. That's the great thing about Brian. He's not only good at getting the top tier talent, he can find those gems. And I'm excited to see what these guys develop into. But it's also going to help with quarterback recruiting going forward. I know we just had Riola decommit. There's other extenuating circumstances there, but I think going forward, when you see the kind of receivers we're bringing in, obviously a quarterback's going to say, geez, man, I'm in a pass-happy offense with Ryan Day, and I got these receivers to throw to. It's like no-brainer. I'm going to be able to put up good numbers and get drafted. And now maybe this is off topic, but maybe seeing Justin Fields showing some success in the NFL is going to help with that as well. But obviously that's the good. I'm going to go with, there's a couple of guys in the DB class I'm very excited about. Calvin Simpson-Hunt, I think, is a really good player. And people are talking about what we've lost in the defensive back recruiting, but I actually like what we're getting. I like Jermaine Mathews. I think he's really good. There's other guys too. Malik Hartford, I'm kind of excited about, big safety. It's just, we got guys that I think are pretty good, especially that top tier, that Simpson-Hunt and Mathews. It's just, I think you got a couple of stud corners there. And also, this is going to be a little controversial, I know, because everybody's crying about what we didn't get, but I think the defensive line class is actually solid. I actually like it. I like Jason Moore. I like flipping Josh Mickens. I think those are good edge players. I think Jason Moore's a borderline 5-star, is a really good player. And I really I know he's only a 90 rating. I know when people look at that rating and don't know anything about him and they say, who cares? He's boring. But Kayden McDonald from Georgia is somebody I'm actually very excited about. No big nose tackle, 6'3", 310 coming in. He had 7 sacks in one game, I think, in high school. He's a very dominant player. It could be one of those underrated gems, those diamond in the rough. So you get it, all of a sudden he's a huge contributor to your defense almost immediately once Coach Mick gets him right. So to me, that's a good. I actually really like what we have there. I don't want to say, I'm going to go into the bad, but I want to preface this a little bit. I don't mean this is like these position groups are bad. I'm intrigued to see what happens with the offensive line recruiting. Luke Montgomery obviously is a gem, clearly probably future left tackle for Ohio State. But we get those Midwestern guys like Austin Siereveld. I can't say their names. I apologize. And of course, you have Padilla as well. It's kind of interesting to see where they end up on the line. Midwestern offensive linemen are so hard to predict. They just are. And I say that because sometimes they can end up like, Pat Eifel or Billy Price and be key cogs in winning a national title in that interior line and be really, really good for you. Or other times they just completely they get on the roster, you never hear from them again. So I'm intrigued by it because I think they're talented. I think this is Justin Fry's first recruiting class with Ohio State. I'm trying to see where he's going with it, where he wants to take it going into future recruiting classes. I'm excited to see what he can do in development with them. Maybe he feels that these are guys you can develop. I'm also intrigued by Miles Walker, a 3-star tackle from the Northeast. I look, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I think these are all going to come in and be dominant, all Big Ten players, but you don't need that. Sometimes you just need really good, serviceable players. I mean, Walker might be a 3-star guy, but he's a raw athlete. He's big, and he so is DeJuan Jones, and then he's a 3-star kid who ended up becoming a really solid contributing piece for us. So I'm interested to see where that goes. The bad, I almost wanted to put this in the ugly, but I don't want to. No running back. Obviously Fletcher decommitted a while ago, and it just seems like I don't know if it caught us off guard necessarily. I mean, I don't think it should have. I mean, he was flirting with decommitting for quite a while. Now Ohio State coaching staff knows their roster better than us, but even they can be shocked and surprised, right? So what's going to happen with next year's running back class? or next year's run. I mean, granted, now I'm not going to say it's in the ugly yet because I'm going to get to the ugly here in a second, but because we got till February to get somebody, but transfer portal, whatever we're going to do. But again, you want to have one locked and loaded. Fletcher was a really good running back to have locked and loaded, and we could have got him signed. And he seemed very pro Ohio State. Just, whatever, it didn't work out. That's okay. It didn't work out. But we have a backup plan? What's going on with running back recruiting? And I'm not anti Tony Alford. You've watched this show before. I love Tony Alford. And he's an excellent coach and recruiter. It is what it is sometimes. You're not going to take 2-3 running backs per class, So, well, with the running back situation, I don't know what Mayan Williams is going to be doing after the year. I don't know if he's going pro, because they have such a short shelf life in running backs. You got to strike while the iron's hot. If he has a good playoff, does he end up going to the pros? Henderson, I don't know what his future looks like at Ohio State. Evan Pryor is going to be coming back from injury, and he won't be himself for a little while. Brian Day's even saying they don't know if Chip Trayanum's going to be staying on offense or not. Then you got Dallin Hayden rumors. I mean, possibly transferring to Tennessee, which I don't know how serious those are or not, but the rumors are always out there. So not getting a running back in this class to me would be detrimental. But we'll see what happens in February. It'll be interesting going forward. To me, that's the the position I really would like them to shore up and do something with. But also losing Kienholz to Auburn, that's bad. But it's something you can recover from. It's not something that's like, okay, well, the whole class is just ruined now. I mean, he's a good player. I think he's going to be a good player. I liked having him at Ohio State. I think he was great for that cover safety position that Jim Knowles likes to play. It's a loss for sure, but it's bad. That's why I put it in the bad category. But it's not a game changer, game backbreaker. We've lost guys before on signing day. It happens. The ugly right now is Ohio State's handling of the NIL situation. Obviously, it's the ugly part of it. It is. I've said they're going to be fine. I think they will be fine, and they will figure it out. Sometimes, in my opinion, if you look back, recruiting in general, it seems to take the Midwest a bit to catch up with the rest of the country and how they recruit. Because I don't know whether it's just Midwestern values or how they traditional, how they look at things. I don't know. I remember when Urban Meyer got to the Big Ten. And he took SEC, knife fighting rules to the Big Ten recruiting, and it just guys like Brett Bielema were what? It's just like you can't do that. So it's just and then the Midwest finally started to catch on and realize, okay, this is winner take all, guys. I don't know what to tell you. They're not signed, and I don't care. I mean, that was the big thing in recruiting back then in 2012 is. Oh, you're not signed. You're just committed. Well, you're fair game. Now it's all about the Benjamins. It's just so crazy how things have changed in just a decade. So, but Ohio State's, they're behind for sure. The Midwest is behind on NIL. I think they'll catch up. They usually do. It'll be interesting to see how it happens or how fast it happens, but I think they will catch up and realize, well, this is college football now. I kind of wonder if they're waiting around to see if the NCAA or some governing body, something is going to rein it in. I don't know, but I also know they're dealing with a compliance department that's insane. So whatever, it is what it is. I'm not going to do the whole Notre Dame, Michigan thing. Like, well, if we lower our expectations for grade, then we get better. I'm not going to play that game. I refuse. But they just got to figure it out. I mean, Shino said it with Rodgers. He was like, "Hey, it's up to us to figure it out. It is what it is." So, anyway, guys, I appreciate you tuning in. We'll talk more about recruiting going forward, obviously, but I think honestly, I kind of like the class. I'm not saying it's the best class the class could have been, and I understand I didn't address really losing Cam Keeley or losing out on Mateo or losing out on Damon Wilson. I get that. I think sometimes that happens, and I think it's part of the NIL problem. With Ohio State. But again, I don't know for sure that it's a winning strategy just to buy off players. But it does make for great signing day headlines, that's for darn sure. And it makes for an exciting time for those fan bases because they just see it on paper like our Madden NCAA EA Sports soaked minds. We see the rating on the paper and we automatically think it's going to be a championship. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, guys, we appreciate you for tuning in as always. Again, Subscribe for playoff coverage. As I said before, looking for 6,000 subscriptions by the Peach Bowl. Leave a comment what you think about High State football class, our recruiting class so far. It's not over yet. It's 20 commits. Bonsu, I think, has committed. I think has signed his letter of intent to Ohio State. He didn't announce it on signing day, but I think he's there. And but I do. But let me know, guys, what you think about what's going on with Ohio State's recruiting right now, good or bad or ugly. I don't care what it is. Let us know what you think. So appreciate you guys as always. Goodbye. God bless, and go Bucks.